Welcome, everybody, to Funeral Nation episode 97. I'm Ryan Thogmartin. That is Jeff, the Funeral Commander Harbison. Sir, we are 3 episodes away from the big 100. And amazingly enough, you and I have planned absolutely nothing for episode 100 yet.
Well, I haven't told you what the plans are yet,
okay.
You haven't planned anything.
Right, I haven't.
It could be a big party. That's the last episode of the year, number 100. So who knows who could be there and what we could talk about.
Could be crazy.
And where I'm doing it from and what I may, anyway, you know how that could possibly go.
All right. Well,
Happy New Year!
Before we can get to 100, we have to get through 97. So who is this show powered by?
This show's powered by Jamie, Meredith, and our friends at C&J Financial. The Fast Funding Group. Roll is promo.
What payment method do you prefer families use for your goods and services? Most funeral homes and cemeteries prefer cash check or credit card over life insurance as the preferred method of payment. However, families who use life insurance are able to purchase the funeral service of their choice and spend 31% more on your goods and services. By encouraging more families to pay with insurance, you can create a better experience for the family and become more profitable without increasing your call volume. The reason most firms prefer cash check or credit card over life insurance is that insurance companies are a hassle to deal with, and payment can often take weeks or months to receive. With C&J Financial, you can receive funding within 24 hours of verification of benefit, thereby eliminating the hassle, headache, and cash flow delay in processing insurance death claims. Let us show you why hundreds of funeral homes all across America choose C&J for their assignment funding needs, and why many associations, accounting firms, and industry leaders recommend C&J to their clients and members.
Awesome. Well, we have a Changemakers episode today, Jeff, and this is where we have multiple guests and we're kind of discussing some of the hot button topics that are happening in the profession. And so this week we're going to have Justin Baxley and Will Bischoff from Homesteaders Life Company. And Justin recently just joined Homesteaders Life. So we're going to talk with Will and Justin about some of the opportunities that we have in the profession, some of the hurdles that are facing us in the profession. And then, of course, we're going to do our lightning round questions with them that are always interesting. And most of the time, these guys are getting put on the spot with these questions. There's not like a preview. So should be interesting to see what happens.
All right. Well, let's jump into that interview, man.
Let's get to it.
We're really excited today to have 2 superlatives on our show. And guys, thank you for taking a little time to be with us. How about each of you basically introduce yourselves and tell us a little about your professional background?
Sure. It's good to be with you guys. I'm Will Bischoff. I started in the industry. I actually grew up in Batesville, Indiana, which many people recognize. But I started out with an accounting degree. I started out working for funeral home companies. There was one based in Batesville, Prime Succession. And shortly after starting there, that's where I first met Steve Schaefer and the gentleman that would found Keystone Group. So shortly moved to Tampa, and as the company grew, I got to grow with them. And really all 4 of those gentlemen, Steve Schaefer, Jim Price, Bob Horn, Steve Tidwell, are kind of my mentors in the business, but really gave me a lot of great opportunity, and along the way learned a lot. Briefly was with another pre-need company once Keystone was sold to SCI in 2010, where I continued to hone some skills on an at-need financing program that they had, and or I should say at-need insurance assignment program, as well as getting into pre-need. And then in 2015, when shortly after Steve Schaefer joined Homesteaders, it was just too good of an opportunity not to pass up to join Steve again and become a part of the Homesteaders team.
That's awesome. You know, you have some great mentors there. I mean, those are some pretty big names in our industry. So you've been blessed to have those guys to follow behind.
I have.
Yeah. Now, who's that other guy we got on here? the good-looking guy that sings at shows and stuff.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I'm Justin Baxley, and I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, and grew up in a family funeral home and cemetery business in Central Florida, and then eventually had the opportunity to take over that business. And I think that's where I kind of developed very much a personal mission to say, how can I be a part of keeping funeral service relevant for consumers? And being in a state where cremation was the traditional funeral a long time ago in Florida, it kind of gave me an opportunity and with my firms to try some different things and really try to innovate and meet consumers where they were. So coming forward from that, I had the opportunity a number of years ago to join, actually in 2012, join my firms with the Foundation Partners Group family, and was a part of the Foundation Partners Group leadership team for the past several years. And of course, now have the opportunity to join the Homesteaders team. And I'm excited about being a part of a company whose mission really is focused on improving the value of funeral service and the ways that I can hopefully be a part of plugging into that mission.
Excellent. Well, Justin, a few weeks ago, Homesteaders made the announcement that you were joining their team. You want to explain to us what your role at the company is going to be?
Sure. Well, I think it's important to note that, I have been a Homesteaders customer. I've been a business owner that's chosen Homesteaders for my own funeral homes. And so over the years, have learned a bit about the company as a consumer. But also I realize I have a lot to learn now as a person inside the company to really understand, how things tick and what all the organization is focused on. My role really will be to be a part of Will's team and focusing on bringing solutions to funeral home owners that allow them to meet needs in the pre-need realm, but also just, things that may help them improve their business. So I certainly have some learning to do before I know exactly, the ways that I'll be plugged in. But definitely my role is working with Will and his team to really just continue championing that message of bringing value to funeral home owners and their businesses, and certainly continuing to be, the leading expert on pre-need as well.
Wow. That's an exciting matchup. I think that you probably had some of the more pervasive LinkedIn views I've seen in some time. So you have quite a following there as well. Guys, we're really excited that we have you two guys here today. This is a Change Makers episode. And I believe from our perspective, you really are change makers and your voices are important. Would you share from your different perspectives and experiences what you see the opportunities for us out here in the funeral profession is, what they are in the next couple of years?
Yeah, if you want to take the lead on
Sure.
this one, Justin.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's a great question. And I would say that we think about what our opportunities are out there. I really think it's answering two questions. What is it that consumers truly value, and continuing to innovate solutions that meet consumers where they are and meet their preferences, their needs, which are obviously constantly changing. The other thing I think is very much tied in with that is, how do we continue to put more control in the hands of consumers? How do we leverage technology to really meet consumers on their level, interact with them, the places where they're comfortable interacting, and yet be sharing a message that, they very much need to know in regard to, our profession, what we do as individual firms, what make those firms different, and as strategic partners like Homesteaders, what we do, to differentiate and empower those efforts. So I definitely think broadly those are kind of the two big opportunities that we have. I think that that's probably going to involve continued efforts in the area of pricing transparency and making sure that, again, consumers have the information they need to make informed decisions because they want to. Mm-hmm. And I also would say that, again, on that value side of things, there's an opportunity to really figure out, as we figure out what a consumer's value, asking questions like, where does hospitality fit into the local funeral home? And as we look at what hospitality industry does and what funeral profession does, what can we learn and what can we incorporate that's not only good for consumers, but good for business performance as well.
No doubt. Will?
Yeah, I think Justin's talents and experience will continue to lend to that. I know, we do a lot of research here at Homesteaders, and one thing we see is the average age of a funeral home owner continues to rise. I think it's somewhere well above what we would normally consider retirement age. And so I think as, you see new professionals entering the industry, and some access that individuals may have to capital to start a business or perhaps transition businesses, I think there's more opportunity than maybe a full-time funeral director may perceive there is today. So I definitely think, while there are challenges, be it with cremation, funeral averages, funeral revenues, with the demographic trends we're starting to see with the aging population, Homesteaders is still very pro pre-need, pro funeral service. As Justin mentioned, that's all we do. We don't diversify into any other type of insurance products. We're solely focused on the pre-need industry. So I still think there's plenty of opportunity for young professionals and entrepreneurs to enter the industry and do well.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that just a second. In fact, today we're having a closing from our company for some young funeral directors that are under 35 years old, buying a multi-million-dollar funeral home, and we were able to get the financing. And this transition taking place is wonderful because we have some people that worked all their life, they're getting something out of it. And some people who want to get into the business now, this is what you dreamed of. And I agree with both of you that I believe that our next group coming up, a lot of the FNers, right? But this next team of talented funeral professionals that we really need to work hard to let them know the possibilities are there. Conversely, we need to let these more mature senior funeral directors, owners, know that we need to link these two together. And that is, I believe, one of the great opportunities that lends itself in this profession versus others, because there is transitional, I keep saying opportunity, is transitional opportunity to move a business and that wealth from one to the next.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of reverse the question Jeff just asked her, and Will, you kick this one off. What are some of the major hurdles that we're going to be facing in our future in the profession?
Well, obviously the ownership component is one of them. Finding people that want to work the hours that are required of funeral directors, much less funeral home owners, continues to be a challenge. But I believe, when you talk about millennials entering the industry or the business, some of the attributes that they talk about millennials and being caring, being wanted to be committed to a cause. I think once they find the opportunities of serving families, it's still a great opportunity for people to enter the industry.
Justin?
Sure. Yeah, I would definitely agree. And it's stories like Jeff shared that get me excited and saying, hey, there's still so much future. There's still so much going on. Yeah. There's some people that do look at the hurdles that we have as a profession and they get a little doom and gloom about it. But as Henry Ford said a long time ago, don't find fault, find a remedy. And so I think about maybe some additional hurdles and maybe a central hurdle being, and this will be something that I think gets examined a lot in some of the business transition that takes place is, how does the business model for funeral service proceed into the future? What changes need to be made in the business model that allow funeral homes to continue to be successful? So maybe that's understanding, ways to bring more efficiency, to the operation of these businesses that provide the flexibility to serve consumers. Maybe it's, we look the reality of market segmentation where, it's not just market share, it's market segmentation share. And so I think funeral homes needing to decide who is it that I'm serving and what does my business need to look like to serve those people well. And so I think those are, while they're hurdles, they're also indicative of a profession that's still got a lot of growth and thriving and transformation, to undertake. And I think we all have a great seat at the table to be able to be a part of that. And certainly Homesteaders does.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's interesting, Will, your statement about personnel, that's the number one cost to a funeral home and on a P&L statement. And I just recently did some studies. In fact, I spoke last week at a conference, and, the people who are exiting the funeral business, the ones who are entering, there aren't enough to backfill. And I think that we all have a challenge in our future to, number one, do a better recruiting job, but number two, training and providing these people who are coming into our industry that they really want to work here. Changing up the way that we've treated folks that were just starting in the industry. I washed cars for 2 years and cut grass, and you're going to do the same thing. That ain't going to cut it anymore, because you know what? If, with a click of an iPhone, they're out of there, right? And so those attributes of these young folks and people who are coming in, we also need to change to accept and bring them to the next level so that they can help us. Because sooner or later, we've got to be replaced. I know it's impossible for me, but for the average guy out here, we need to look for that sort of talent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Got to develop that passion in other people, right?
That's it. And you know what? This is a passion business. It's relational and passionate. And, we see that oftentimes in lots of discussions, and especially on Facebook, we hear a lot about it oftentimes. Right. So guys, we'll go back maybe to the company part. What is the focus for Homesteaders for 2018?
Well, 2017 is shaping to be another great year. Our sales are up over last year, and we've continued to see a steady growth in our sales over the last few years. So we hope to see that trend obviously continue in 2018. For us, we want to continue focusing on solutions to bring to funeral home owners. So I think you'll continue to see some development on the technology side. And that's not just necessarily devoted to pre-need sales, but, applications that would be useful for funeral homeowners connecting with families. And that's what's great about Justin coming on board again, to lend his experiences to some of those developments.
Excellent.
All right. Well, it's time for our lightning round questions. And this is something that we do with every guest. Will, you're going to be up first. I'm going to ask you a series of just quick questions, and you fire off a quick 1 or 2 word answer.
Okay.
Sound good?
I will do my best.
Okay, here we go. Favorite movie?
Caddyshack.
Best vacation spot?
I like staying home. I'm fortunate to get to travel a lot, so anytime I can be at home and have a staycation, I prefer that.
Excellent. All right, celebrity crush?
Go with Jennifer Aniston.
Good one.
That's better than what Steve Schaefer said. I'm not even repeating that
one. All right. Pro or college football?
College.
Which team?
I've been in Iowa a couple years now, so I kind of pull for Iowa or Iowa State.
Okay.
So.
Last one here. Favorite Christmas song?
I'm a big Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers fan, and was sad to lose Tom Petty this year. And if you look for it, they have a Christmas song called "It's Christmas All Over," and really great song. And looking forward to listening to it a lot over the next month.
Okay.
Will, will you sing out a couple bars for us before we leave?
I'll pass.
No. I didn't write that down in the script.
Yeah.
No, man. All right, Justin, are you ready?
I hope so.
All right, I want to get this one out of the way first. Celebrity crush.
Lori Loughlin. I grew up watching Full House, so what can I say?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Once again, you guys are much better than that guy down in the corner. Anyway, so Cuban or South American cigars?
You know what? I'm going to say South American.
I agree with you right there. Favorite Christmas toy as a kid?
I've always been into music, so I would say my favorite Christmases were guitar Christmases.
All righty then.
Yeah.
And Florida or Florida State?
Go Knowles.
Man, you guys just had a little bad time, right?
It's been a tough year.
Yeah, it's been a tough year. It happened. Hey, you can't be the front dog all the time. You know what the view looks like after that. So,
right.
Deer or pheasant hunting?
I'm going to say pheasant hunting.
Interesting. I like that as well. Well, fellas, we're excited. Justin, congratulations on.
Thank you.
Let me ask you though, Florida, Iowa, Indiana. I mean, y'all know it's cold there. That's like living in Syracuse or somewhere with lake effect. You know it's cold there, right?
It is, although today's surprisingly in the 60s, but it's going to be changing. So.
Yes, that's what I see. Well, anyway, I just want to let you know you're always welcome here in Phoenix because it's sunny outside. But thank you both. Both of you guys, I really admire you, and you're certainly one of the recognized gentlemen in our business. And we greatly appreciate you coming and sharing a little bit on change makers. And I believe we'll be able to have you back some more and have some more discussion.
Thanks for having us.
All righty. Y'all take care and put on some socks because it's cold out there.
All right. Take care. Merry Christmas.
See ya.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Commander, great episode. Love those two gentlemen. They're just doing a lot of good things in the profession, moving and shaking. And, one of the things I love about kind of working with homesteaders and the role that we do with Disrupt is just how forward thinking they are. And they are always 2 or 3 steps ahead and creating products and value add services that just are making funeral homes better. So this episode, and speaking of making funeral homes better, this Change Makers episode is brought to us by our friends at Sitch Caskets. So let's roll that promo.
Funeral Nation is sponsored by Sitch Casket. Sitch has changed everything for funeral homes facing declining profits from cremation, with casket quality equal to the top domestic brands but at half the cost or better. Enter now to win a free Sitch Casket at sitchcasket.com. Sitch, only your accountant can tell the difference.
We're finishing up here and we've got some really good information coming out soon. So please, everybody, FNers, be looking for the survey coming out.
Yep.
It's important to us of what we're going to hear back from you to make some changes of what we're going to do for our future in 2018. So, Ryan, this is kind of the end of the show. I'm traveling this week. You're traveling this week. We're just traveling everywhere.
Yep.
We'll be back home next week, at least to our domicile. Home is where
home is where your heart is.
No, home is Marriott. I just changed underwear here in Phoenix. That's kind of it. Yeah. But we'll get that together. It'll be Christmas week, New Year's week, and so our 100th episode will be right at the end. But thank everybody out here. FNers, keep up the good work. Love hearing back from you, and we appreciate you.
All right. Until next time, have a great effing week.
Out here.